Yeah, it's been a while. We haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
I think the last time I saw you was at your vernissage, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Akermus.
The
Yeah.
exhibition.
Right?
Yeah.
That was already a long time ago. That was,
It was
almost a year
almost
ago.
a year. It was in May.
Yeah. Crazy.
And and what was the evolution from that point to where we are today? Like,
wow, that would be a whole book.
Beautiful question.
It was a crazy road, a lot of twists and turns, and I just like ended up in this project.
First of all, it was your first solo exhibition, I guess. No, you didn't know one.
Not really.
One. Okay, but it was the biggest one.
Yeah, it was like the biggest. It was definitely like the biggest show, and then after that show, I feel like I created waves, and like after that show I had such a like dip because that was like such a high. I feel like I had such a like creative low, and then a bunch of like questions and not knowing what was next, and then finally finding the space, and then deciding to like get this new space and start this new project, and then
like the new
I guess that's what happened. Now it's like back in another like creative high kind of.
Yeah. I feel like I'm the same. Like whenever you hit like a milestone, like it feels good in the moment, and then eventually you're just like, okay, what do I do now? You know?
Yeah, it's the part of the momentum, I guess. Like, just keep the momentum alive after post event, like.
100%. That's the hard part. I think the hard part is I think you need a plan for after a high. You feel like the high is going to be good, but you need to have a very concrete. This is what I'm learning now. Is that like I always tend to like have these exciting projects, and the second they're over, I'm like sad and like I don't know what's next because I feel kind of lost. So you need to like plan. It's like even a friend told me that they had a savings account for post-trip fun.
Yeah,
if you get back from a trip and you don't have savings to have fun, you're gonna be depressed.
That's smart.
Yeah, that's so smart.
They even had activities planned in Montreal. So he was like, we're going on this big trip, and then when we come back, we actually plan like a spa like 2 weeks after we come back, just so we're not like, oh no, we're depressed to be home.
Yeah, instead of just like sitting on Instagram and posting stuff from 2 weeks before.
Just nostalgia. Like, oh, why am I not in?
But now you just tell me about the project you're working on, Parallèle and everything.
Yeah. So I guess like when I found this new space, I was like, okay, I'm going to have a art studio, but at the same time, it's such a great space to like do exhibitions. So I was like asking Sophie, like, hey, you want to help me? Maybe we can do a launch party just for my new space. Like,
at the beginning, it was just like a lunch party. It was just like the opening of his studio. So I was like, yeah, sure. But like
chill,
the fair, Plural Fair was like coming soon.
Yeah.
Like, what's the best time to do it?
Mm-hmm.
It's then. Like,
and then I was like, it's the perfect timing is to do it at the same time.
Right.
He came with this idea and I was like, oh yeah, it's a good one.
100%. It was just like, okay, if we're gonna do an event anyway in the beginning of April, like everything was kind of like lining up, and I was like, that's when the biggest contemporary art fair in Canada is. It's like it's on April like 11th to 13th in Montreal. It's like
you have all these people there.
Yeah.
Like you want to bring attention to the new project.
100%. So I was like, let's just do it at the same time. And then instead of just doing a small exhibition, I was like, let's just do a mini art fair and get a bunch of like independent artists and curators involved.
Because the space permitted. Like, we had the space, we had the lights, we had like, we were looking at the space and like, okay, this is definitely something we need to use.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I don't want to do like a solo exhibition. He was like, I want to bring my friends. I want to bring my people. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, sure. And then he asked me, he said like, do you think it's a good time to do it at the same moment? Maybe like we're going to lose some people. Mm-hmm. People are going to go at the other fair and not our event. Mm-hmm. And then he came back and he said, but Art Basel, Paris, Miami, everywhere. It's like a week and they have so many events.
Right.
Like gravitating around the same.
100, yeah, exactly.
So like why we are like afraid of like adding more and more information and more people and more vibe to
people are already there. They're looking for stuff to do anyhow.
That's like, the whole thing. It's like ride the wave.
Montreal Art Week.
Exactly. It's like it's not weird. Like it's weird that it hasn't been like coined that yet. Like it's not Montreal Art Week, but like it should be. So we're like we started saying like, okay, we're just gonna start calling it Montreal Art Week when it's plural, like when it's this. Plural's in town, and so it's Montreal Art Week. So we're doing like a satellite like fair that's parallel to it. That's like the name even comes from that. It's like we're not competing. We're not like the alternative. We're just parallel. Like we're just like let's all move alongside each other and like move forward. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's where it came, but it came like. It only popped into my head like I literally was like at the gym. I was at the gym. I saw a reel promoting Plural, and I was like, "That's the weekend. That's in like 3 weeks. We need to." No, it was like in 4 weeks. We were like, "Okay, we need to organize a whole art fair in 4 weeks. Let's do it." And then we're just like,
and obviously I said yes.
So that of course, like Sophia's crazy. Like she's like, "Okay, let's do it."
Sure, of course. A fair event with like 20 artists ish.
Yeah.
In like 4 weeks, obviously, I'm so down.
Yeah.
So down to not sleep for like days and days.
How is the logistics of getting all the people together? Was it easier than you thought, or was it like quite challenging as well?
I think I felt, to be honest, the last few months, I traveled and I was like kind of like interested in living in other places and wondering if I really wanted to like recommit to living in Montreal full time, or I was and then what's funny was I decided to do, when I found this space, I was like, this is my dream space. Let's just do it. I start writing to artists that I find really like talented. And hey, if I did a project, would you get on board? And everyone was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, oh, and it made me feel so,
already.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You have already the band, the crowd and everyone around you. And like,
it made me feel super like, it kind of like confirmed that I did the right choice to like move back and be like, okay, let's just like, Montreal is a great place to be, like, let's be here. And I feel like this kind of, it was just like confirmation that like I'm in the right place.
And you'd be surprised sometimes, like, because we don't ask enough. We're always like we assume that people are gonna be like they're gonna push back against it and whatnot. And then when you ask, you're just like, wow, okay, it's been received so well. You know?
You need to.
We don't even like expect it, but like there's so many different artists here. So it's like the pool is full. It's full of beautiful, talented people, and like actually we are like the artistic capital, right? All Canada. In my job, we used to say like, the art is created in Montreal and it's sold in Toronto. Because they say like in Toronto is more like the capitalist part of it, without saying it, but like they have more into the market, more auction houses, more galleries and stuff.
We love Toronto.
We love Toronto. But they say like everything is created here in Montreal.
A lot of artists are born and learn to be artists
the
here.
The Myland part of Montreal was created because of artists, because it was like a crowd of artists like was trying to get into places that was not downtown because it was too expensive for the rent and stuff. And like you have this whole beautiful place that it was born with that. And Montreal is just all of this. And I was like, okay, like this is definitely an amazing pool, and you just pick and you just like talk and connect.
Yeah. And how did you guys connect?
I think originally like social media first, and then we met at a gallery, and then we actually like talked. And then
a few years ago, I used to have like something when I came first in Montreal. I was like a thought in mind, and I was like, I'm gonna connect with all the artists that I know, because I knew already that I wanted to just getting close to them. And Nick was one of them. I was just checking his Instagram, like IG, and I was like, oh, wow, this guy is prolific, he's talented, he's definitely so cool. And when I saw everything, and I was okay, this is good.
Okay, take the compliment.
It's free, it's fine. But it's true, like sometimes you just, okay, right, and this is, and I did it with like a lot of artists now that are my friends too, and I did it with him, and he said, yeah, I'm in this gallery and you can come see me. First contact, and then we just had coffee, we talked about it. And I remember I told you, the minute you're ready to have someone to help you with your career, you can call me.
So at the time you were already like working in art galleries and everything, right?
Me, yeah. Since like now 2019, I'm working at a historical gallery. So it's more like, it's more classic. It's really cool. It's 19th, 20th century, only Canadian masters. So it's absolutely not emergent. But
She's not used to working with artists that are alive.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm passionate since like forever. like with emergent artists, and I was like, okay, maybe I can take this skills that I'm having with the historical part and just like merge it to the emergent artists crew. And then I was like, yeah, it works well because I'm writing text, you know, I'm like composing stuff, and I'm doing it the same way. I'll do it for a masterpiece in a museum because this is the way I see it too. And it changed completely the vibe because it's not just emergent artists, it's like future.
I have to ask because
masters.
Because like I went in school in graphic design, and I had
me too.
Oh, cool. Concordia. And I had this art history class, which a lot of times like they asked you to write like a long dissertation on an art piece. And I found myself like trying to regurgitate some words that
are not
trying to make meaning where I don't know if the original intent from the artist was to have that meaning. So a lot of times, like, I'm just curious, like, how do you go about it? Since the artists that you work with they all passed away. So is it something that the artist left behind that now we're trying to interpret, or like, how does it go?
I think it's like you are kind of a chercheur.
A researcher?
A researcher, like someone who's like, okay, I have like a mystery in front of me and I need to, like, I don't know, check all the clues I have and about the condition, about the environment where he grew, what was around him at this time, the society, wars too. The minute you have the Vietnam War, for example, you can see like all the work of artists around them are really impacted by that.
So you look at the historical context and different clues, right, to like explain it.
Exactly. So it's really like you go into like everything that can impact the work, because when you think about it, like art piece is just like a trace, like a trace. I don't know how to.
It's like a marker leaving in the world. Yeah.
So when you think about it, it's just like, okay, like an artist is like a sponge.
Yeah.
And everything is go through him.
Everything influences him, and then he has an output.
So this is the first step, and then you go into the personal life. So when it's historical artist, you can definitely see, I know that he had a relationship, for example, Rio Pell had a relationship with John Mitchell. And when you know that they live together in the same studio in France, you can, okay, this like 19 something till this moment, it was this relationship,
right?
And you check the pieces separately and you go see, and you see the evolution between them. You see even the moment when they have a fight because they're separated and the pieces are so different.
Wow. Right.
And then there is biographies about it and stuff. So the more you learn how to understand what is a piece of art, you understand that it's not just a human doing something on the spot. It's really like an influence of everything around. And then the more you do it, the more you used to do it. So obviously it's about also what you feel. And I'm not analyzing anything. I'm just telling what I feel on the spot. But it's talking to a lot of people. So it's like, okay, maybe I have, I feel something that it can be shared.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it's a whole word.
That's fascinating.
I can talk about it for hours.
And how is it different when you're dealing with emerging artists that are alive today and you get to communicate with them? So let's say, for example, with Nick, I'm sure you've developed a relationship together, and that has helped you interpret his art in a certain way, in a better way, right?
Absolutely.
I think sometimes what she's saying, though, it's like it's still happening. Like it happens with her, and it happened a lot also. Like when I was doing the project that you came to see at Akermus, like just having lots of conversations with the artist. So like when people that are working with me, they talk to me, they're kind of doing that job of like researching, but instead of like looking for clues in like books, they're looking for clues like within myself. So it's just like through these conversations, they'll end up like asking the right questions. And sometimes it's even me. It's like I didn't even understand a part of myself and my own art. It's like I'm doing what I feel, but I don't necessarily have like an analysis of it.
Yeah,
yeah, you didn't put it into words.
Yeah.
You know?
So then I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Why?
Thanks for asking that question. Like that actually makes a lot of sense.
You know why? Because the creative mind and the analysis mind is like the opposite.
Yeah. They're different.
So it's normal to not understand exactly what you're doing when you're doing it. It's just it's like you are just like a transfer of like something, you know?
Yeah.
But 100%. When you have someone in front of you, like, oh, by the way, this is what I feel when I'm here.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. And you're like, oh, and there's like a whole reflection of yourself.
And that's that's the kind of communication part that like I think that a lot of artists aren't good at. Yeah. And like kind of to get into like even in like a marketing aspect of it, it's like if you're an artist, don't know how to communicate what you're making, why you're making it, and like what your kind of like theory or just like your feelings about your art are, then people can't connect as much. And like the marketing is all about the connection. And so I just feel like you need to, that's like something to develop, like, and that helps you a lot. And it's even for yourself, it's like, then you start understanding your own self and your own art better. And then people around you are like, oh, I mean, I've even had people like who had seen my art. And then after they heard me talk about it, they were like, oh, wow. Like, I mean, I liked it before, but now I like it way more.
Exactly. Yeah. Everything is about the storytelling, right?
Yeah.
Kind of in a way. But this one is even better in a way because it's a product that it was made by the same person. Like the storytelling is so close to who he is.
But that's also that's the cool opportunity that I feel like artists have nowadays is that we do have a platform to share those things with the world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Obviously there's pros and cons to everything, you know, because I'm sure artists also feel the pressure of always having to live up to like creating good content and all of that. Yeah. But it is an outlet that an artist 300 years ago definitely didn't have. You know?
Maybe
absolutely
like
not. Absolutely not. You don't even know how true it is. In the past, even like really like close to us, like in
like
the
40
90s
years ago,
and
50
in
years
the
ago.
70s, the gallerist was the one who was doing it. The gallerist was, okay, I'm connected. We have a lot of really famous gallerists that have pushed a lot of movement, pushed a lot of artists that it was like, even when you are, at the time it was really complicated, you struggled a lot to just be seen in a way. And the artist was the one, okay, I'm going to organize exhibitions and stuff. But today you have your own platform.
You can just do stuff.
Window in a way to the world. So like collectors are just like DMs. Like in the past it was the galleries, now it's like Instagram.
It's true. There's way more of that. There's a lot of sales that are just DMs.
DMs, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, what's your personal experience with that? Like
it's a lot. Like a lot of it is DMs or just like people you meet. I feel like also it depends I think it depends on the art and the style of art too. Like I think if you're doing something a bit more, and I mean that's all like super like, you know, it's all a question of personal taste, but some people like, I guess like it's subjective is what I had to say, but let's say something that's like subjectively more commercial might like sell better online. Also depends on size, format. If you're selling paper, if you're selling prints, that's like easier to sell online. It's kind of, I guess it really depends.
Since COVID, everything it was really so easy just with your ear. Now you have your iPhone, you don't need to see the piece anymore. You just kind of see it on the website and it's enough.
Right.
Really, because people, it's okay, they lost the connection really with the piece. Like, oh, I need to see it. No, okay, I can see it. You do a Photoshop with like the piece in my living room and like, yeah, obviously it's going to be the same. So I'm going to take it.
I think that's a good point that you bring up because like human beings were creatures of habits. And even I remember, this is like a tangent. It's a different subject, but I remember when I was, 10 years ago when I was on the internet, my parents were always pushing back on buying stuff online.
It wasn't normal. Like, no.
Me too. I hate doing it.
It used to be like so scary.
Yeah, it's like you're gonna input your credit card number on there. Like
it's crazy.
Maybe they're gonna do something with it. Yeah. And now my dad is like the biggest shopper online. Like there's always boxes coming.
I mean that was a huge shift, and I mean definitely COVID accelerated that because everyone was bored and just shopping online, right? But yeah, it's 100%. It's habits and like the way things are. always will change, right?
Yeah.
So like you need to adapt and be like, okay, yeah, I mean, it used to be like, who cares about being online if you're trying to sell art? Like, you know, you just make art shows. But now you realize like so many people are finding you through online, and even galleries are reaching out to artists online.
Okay.
You know, like straight up being like they just DM you, be like, hey, we like your work. You want to work on a show? Like, so if you're not on it and you don't have we were talking about that earlier, but like you need to have a portfolio ready, like just your Instagram page is your portfolio. It's at least part of your portfolio. Yeah,
the point that we brought up was that I personally don't like the fact that artists have to become marketers, because if you're, I don't like it too. Yeah, if you're an artist, you should be able to just focus on your work and you know, exactly. like that's where your mental bandwidth should go and your creative juices should go to. But in today's environment, like it's so competitive and people's attention span is so short that if you don't do it, well, you're leaving so much money on the table. And the example that I was giving to Nick was that, let's say you're at a networking event and somebody asks you, so what do you do? Why are you here? Or whatever. Yeah. And you tell them, well, I'm a painter. I paint acrylic and all that. I mean, the easiest way for them to connect with you and to see what you're all about is to have a curated Instagram page, you know, not like photos of your cats or dogs. It's the modern day business card.
You develop the reflex. Like, actually, it's so funny. Yesterday, I was cleaning my windows. I didn't even tell you this story. So yesterday, I'm cleaning my windows outside in a ladder. And then this lady's just like looking at me. And I'm just like, hi. And then she's like, hi, is this for rent? And I was like, no, actually, I just rented it. And I just like, honestly, like sometimes you just read people. Like I could tell she was like an artsy person. Yeah. You know, so I was just like, oh, I just rented it. I was like, I mentioned like for an art gallery. And she's like, oh, really? Art gallery? And then I was just like, yeah. And I was like, are you an artist? And she's like, yeah, I'm actually a photographer. And I'm actually looking for maybe a place to exhibit my photography. Like I just knew, like I knew. I saw her like just the way.
You can tell sometimes.
Yeah,
you can feel are we becoming a gallery right now?
Yeah.
Just outline in public. I didn't know that. Actually, we talked about this.
Yeah, of course.
I thought it was just a fair because it's a lot of work.
No. Sorry to tell you.
I'm so down.
Yeah. So and it's just it was just so funny, but also just like the reflex is like, oh, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, I'm an artist, and then instantly I just like pulled out my phone and you just like share profile and then the QR code appears, and then she literally just like scanned the QR code and opened my.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, like it's just like super quick.
But it was on the first floor.
I was outside.
Oh, okay, you were outside.
Yeah. I was outside washing like the windows from the outside. It was a terrible job.
Yeah, it's the first floor. Yeah, it's
okay. I thought you were from the second floor, like talking down. No. Hey, here, scan my QR code.
Yelling at people in the street. Hey, you down there, scan this QR code.
Like just get it.
My Instagram profile is artlady65.
Exactly. But yeah, no. So you're 100% right, and I do. It's like a reflex that you. It's all these things, and it's like putting in the reps, like as an artist, as a content creator, as everything, like you just start. And like I was telling you, like I really didn't like doing social media at first. And then the more I did it, honestly, it's like, I love the metaphor of like reps, but it's the same as like the gym. Like you start and the first time at the gym sucks. And then the more you do it, you get better and it gets more fun, right?
Yeah, because you see results.
Yeah.
And you like it. You're getting better and better too. Like you just like get used to it and you like it. But actually it's exactly the same with galleries too. Because when you have an artist and he's coming to the gallery and he's like, hey, I want to be a part of the gallery. Can you do an exhibition for me or something? It's like, yeah, sure. Give me your social media stuff. And if you don't have like a big social like baseline or something, it's easy for the gallery to say, yeah, maybe
it's worth investing in.
And
I mean, if you have,
he's so talented, and maybe like he's just not good at marketing.
But you see, that's where like I find it sucks in the sense where like a gallery will definitely look like, let's say, the following. It's the same with modeling agencies and everything, because for them, like they know they can pull from your audience too.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think just as a general habit, even if you just have like 200 followers or 100 followers on your Instagram, like just having that like business card ready to go, it helps a lot.
It's just
and of course, you try to grow it because, you know, it not just it looks better, but it's like it's better if you have a bit more followers. They know that you're, I mean, also in a way, and I don't want to like, because it's okay if you're some very serious artists don't do any social media and are just really bad at that. But like there's also some artists that just like aren't that serious. That's why, like, for example, like grant applications are like really annoying for a lot of artists who are starting, because you're like, look, I really care about this and I want funding to help me. And it just feels like I don't have the things, I don't have the experience to like get a grant to help me. And so I think that like what's weird, like maturing as an artist, is like looking back on that, I'm like, the government was probably right to refuse my first grant applications. Like I was pretty new. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And like they waited till I proved to them like 3-4 years in, I got a grant application. It's like, oh, well, now they just were like, we were waiting to make sure that we were giving money to someone who was actually doing this for real. And I just feel like that's like the same thing as like slowly getting exhibitions. And it doesn't matter. It could be a little exhibition in a tiny little gallery.
Yeah, like just a pop up or
something, right?
Yeah. But you have to do it by yourself nowadays. Yeah. Like you have to just like, you know what, we're gonna do it, and then that's it, and then we're gonna start something. Yeah. And this is kind of what happened too.
Yeah, just DIY.
There's some gallery though. We're not like, because we love galleries too.
Yes, yeah.
There's some galleries they do push people. They do like have a selection of artists, like they can see the talent and they can like have the vision.
Exactly.
Have the vision to push them. But that's why I really do the difference between a gallery and the like a art store.
Yeah.
There's art stores too, like kind of pop up everywhere, because they do understand like it was easy to just like, oh, we can do
sell some art, flip some art.
Yeah, for a lot of money, and like now it's kind of a trendy thing too. It's like, you know, like you don't know what to do with your money, and you can go just in an art store and buy some stuff. But I love to do the difference. It's really important, because
to acknowledge the fact that
it's really someone, it's a mentor. It's someone who's gonna push the artists and teach them how to be like better.
Yeah.
Not just
well, it's I think what like also it's like the difference is there's people that sell art and there's people that like work with artists. And I mean, if you're developing an artist's career and you're working with them every step of the way, then that's like you're doing a really good job as a gallery.
Exactly.
But like then there's other galleries that you're calling like art stores, and I agree, because it's like if you're just you're just selling objects, you're just taking stuff and selling it, and you don't care like about helping the artist grow or like bringing this artist to like fairs or like, so yeah, if you're not doing that, then
it happens in the art world, but it happens in traditional media as well. You know, like all these big news channel or whatnot that had so much pull before, now they realize that all the media now is decentralized.
Yeah, like it's we're in a huge shift, right? Like that's a super interesting point. Like
I mean, what do you think got the new president elected? It's podcasts. It's definitely definitely not CNN.
I know when Trump went on when he went on Theo Vaughn, I was like, we're finished, bro. We're finished.
No, but we're closing the door again.
No, yeah.
That was a side tangent.
No, 100%. But like that. No, but it just shows how important it is, and like
it's true,
it shows that like if you don't take those opportunities and if you don't adapt, even like you're gonna lose. Like you're definitely gonna lose. Like if you don't do that, you basically that. I mean, that's a really good example. I know we don't want to go into that, but like it's just a great example of like one team adapted really well to modern times. One team didn't, and that team, even if they were like, I mean, it's subjective. Even if it was the better team, they got crushed.
But yeah, like what we realize is that power now has shifted. The dynamic has shifted. 100%. It's just that because there's such low barriers to entry now, everybody can do it. So obviously it's also more competitive.
So yeah, exactly. So much more competitive, and like you need to, like we were saying, adapt. You need to adapt.
Yeah, and I know for myself, like I'm working in marketing and I work with like local businesses, and a lot of them don't want to handle social media. They don't want to be present online. And what I tell them is that we can either talk about how you want it to be or just realize how it actually is, and then use it to your advantage.
Just go with it, right?
Yeah, it's the same with AI now. Like there's a lot of times I feel uninspired because you know, you're creating content all the time, like you don't know what to talk about anymore. Yeah, exactly. But then you ask AI, like, hey, can you come up with like a couple of topics for me?
Yeah, can you just help me? Like I was saying, like you can just use it to help you schedule, or like even like anything. You can help you with anything, but like I've just been using it for like when I need to organize my thoughts more so. So it's like not even necessarily for like making art, but because that's a whole other subject, like which see, it has a good sides and a bad sides. Like I find it's like really terrible. Like everyone was like producing Studio Ghibli AI recently.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
that was that big trend, and like he hates AI. Like it's really sad actually.
It's like really sad.
Well, of course it's sad. This whole thing is like he hates it, and he literally said like he considers it's like an insult to the soul of humanity to make AI art. And it's like you can debate that all you want, but if he thinks that, then you definitely shouldn't use AI to make his style of art, right? Because it's like he owns that. He created a whole universe, and then the AI just analyzes it and copies it. I don't think that's okay.
Yeah.
But so that's one of the bad sides of AI, and there's going to be many bad sides of AI. I won't even. Wow, I could go so political right now, but I won't. But there'll be really bad sides to AI. But there's also I'm back in the arts. No, like the good side is like for artists that exactly like I was saying, like artists who don't have the money or the means to get help, they can just use ChatGPT to help them.
But and you were mentioning before like all these grants and like
it can help you.
It can help you, but the thing is that nowadays you just need your phone basically. It's the biggest tool, and like when people tell me like I need all these big cameras and whatnot, like I tell them like you're just procrastinating because there's a version of the artist that does the same kind of stuff that you do that films themselves on a shittier phone than you have.
I'm telling you, sometimes like I just jump into like studios and stuff, and I do visit a lot of artists, and I see what they're using, and it's like the laptop is randomly it's not even alive anymore, there's a lot of things like when you super old and super like, and even the phone and all the material, because obviously it's the way they just need to do it. They don't have to wait for the perfect setup. They just share. And also I thought about something. The thing that I like about the marketing today, and especially if you're an artist and you know how to use it, it's really like it's a part of your job to show your kind of personality and show yourself and show like in team. It's like you're telling your own story, and like the fact that it's the artist itself that it can like himself, he can just like talk about it. Really something that it was not possible in the past. Like now it's like, oh wow.
Yeah, you get to see so much more. You get to see
from the inside, like the fact that you can talk sometimes about like a political subject that you're like, oh, I hate this and I hate that. The fact that you can talk about it publicly, you can just share your thoughts. It's amazing because as an artist, okay, I understand more your pieces too. And it's like, oh, wow. But at the time, it was not the same. There's so many people that did like bad analogy and bad analysis about like pieces in the past.
Yeah, because they didn't have all that information.
They didn't have anything. They just saw the piece and like, oh, I think it's this. Kind of the same thing you were talking about like, oh, we were doing analysis of like a piece, and it was like, you can see it's not really true in the like art history.
Well, I'm sure if classes. You have nothing to go off of, sometimes it's hard.
But now it's like, oh, you sharing your own thoughts. I know you. I can understand what type of
person you are, what type of perspective you have, what challenges you went through.
It's amazing, actually.
And a lot of times you just have to find that medium that's your voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need to be in front of a camera. Maybe you're really good at speaking. Maybe you like audio. Maybe you're good at written words,
Yeah, I mean, definitely about finding your way of creating content that works for you and that you're comfortable with, and that like, I think that's all part of the learning curve. When you start off, you're like, I don't know, I don't want to do this. Because you can look at clips and there's so many viral videos of art or other stuff, and then you just kind of need to be like, what makes sense to me, and then maybe I could try that style,
And so with Parallèle, what you're starting and everything, do you see it like as an emerging echo chamber where all the artists are going to be able to like support each other and talk to each other? And like I'm just curious about your vision with that.
I think that would be ideal. Like I just think that for me, there's the fair, and then there's the idea of like what we're gonna like move forward with, the idea of like expanding it.
It's definitely the beginning of a movement
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about you. I think we're agreeing on that. But for me, it's the beginning of like finally giving space to emerging artists. Like really finally giving them a fair space. And like just use all this week. For now, I think it's the first edition, and definitely we're gonna do more.
100%. Yeah, I think because we don't have like there's no emerging art fair, so I mean basically we just are missing that. And I mean Montreal's a big enough city with enough talent that there 100% should be one, and there just isn't. And there's so many cities, like you go to New York, there's so many emerging art fairs. Like most cities that are big and art capitals have it, and then we don't. So it's like, okay, well, we just need to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you just need to be the one to instigate that.
Yeah.
Like,
so we just have, but it was just like, it just kind of started, and we're doing this first edition, and it's like, you know, it's small, but it's already like having an impact, and we're getting messages from so many people being like, oh, we support it, and we think this is great. And, you know, even some galleries that are like really successful galleries who are at Plural or then message us being like, oh, we're interested in what you're doing, and like we're supporting it, and like good job. And this is missing in Montreal, and we're like, oh wow, like we really hit on something that's needed. So then we're like, okay, we're gonna like totally move forward with this and keep pushing this idea.
And it started because of Plural.
Because Plural's awesome. Plural's amazing.
Amazing fair like this, and like for contemporary artists and stuff. I'm like, oh wow, it's like an amazing. It's inspiring. We need to nourish itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, 100%. It's like if there's this fair, and it's what makes. I mean, I guess in the way, like what makes Plural so great is that it's, you know, like it's a very curated fair. You know, the fairs that apply, they need to be a part of La GAC, which is like the Canadian Art Gallery Association. So, you know, you have like a very high standard, you know, that's going in, which is amazing. It makes it like such a like an amazing, you know, renowned fair. So that's what's like really cool about it. And actually, there's nothing bad about it. The only thing is like it leaves this whole other space of all these artists who are just not admissible to this fair. So if you're an independent artist, or you're you know, a starting gallery, or you're I mean, I guess if you're starting gallery, you can apply to be a part of it. But you know, if you just started, or you're an independent curator who like you like to do events and make stuff, but you just don't fit the criteria to be in this fair, well then
you don't have anything for you.
There's nothing for you. So like we need to make something for them, and then it would just be. It's not even like a competition at all, right? Because it's just like they just feed two different needs.
It's definitely not a zero-sum game. It's not like like 1 minus 1. I think it's always additive.
It's the same impact. Like Plural is like so big. For now, it's like for us, it's like the first exhibition, and so it's like a baby. That we can push, but I really do think that. I'm going to Plural. He's going to. I'm gonna just like.
Of course.
I'm going in the morning, and you're going afternoon.
Just like managing.
Sorry.
That's your job.
That's put it in the calendar.
Because it's the same moment. So one of us needs to stay.
Of course, No, but we need. Of course, we'll go. It's amazing.
Yeah, and this is something that I really people need to understand. Like I want, you know why? Like, because for me, and I think it's, I can talk for him too, but my goal is like the same way when 2 years ago I went to Art Basel in Miami. I was like booking my tickets, and I was like, wow, I'm booking a flight, Airbnb, a whole trip, a week completely just for an exhibition in a way.
Yeah, it's like because of the art. You're going to Miami for the art.
And then I was like, there's this, and there's Stoke at the time. Stokes too was doing something else, and like so many. And for a week, I think I spent like 4 or 5 days. I did like I literally like art overdosed.
Oh yeah.
Like, really, like you see so many pieces, you see so many stuff, but it's so inspiring too.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the goal is to have like tourists from, I don't know, all over the world, and like booking a ticket to Montreal and to come to see all the different events and fairs that we can have in this week.
Yeah, we need to have Art Week the same way that, you know, I was at Paris Art Week this autumn, and it was amazing. And I went to a couple of these like small independent fairs that just were like, oh, Art Basel's in town, we're gonna do something.
Exactly,
and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. Like, and it all was like feeding off. And then you have like local people, and then like we have that here too, like people who like talk about what's going on, and so it just creates like this whole like a microorganism of like, okay, it's art week, and there's this guy who talks about the art, and this person who this influencer goes around to all the arts and does content, and then you have like podcasts receiving artists and art fair organizers and
art parties.
Of course there's parties.
Well, I mean, let's be real, Art Basel is like 90% parties.
But it's the goal. But you have all I was partying with like people just into art, and I met so amazing people, gallery owners. It was also like a lot of about NFTs, and because at the time it was like it was the moment when everything.
I think I was there maybe like a year earlier than you.
Yeah. I think we talked about it. It was a dream, to be honest. Like I was like, okay,
I haven't been to the Miami one. Paris one was more tame. Also, I don't know anyone in Paris, so it was chill. I just looked at galleries.
I came back and I was like, what?
I mean, like, and what's crazy is like, depending on where you live and where you're staying at the hotel or Airbnb in Miami, if you do have to cross the bridge to go to South Beach, that bridge, like at like 4 or 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., like it's traffic, but like nothing else. Something that
a lot of traffic there.
Something that would take you like 15 minutes to get to, all of a sudden takes you an hour and 45.
No, it's true. But I picked my Airbnb just next to the Art Basel, so I was like, everything was walking because someone told me about this. For the traffic stuff. But it's.
But I think like, you know, coming back to like Parallèle, like all these movements or communities that you build, like it starts as something small, and then eventually when you have like a little bit of reference experiences and things to back it up, then afterwards, like what I would do if I were you is just like, you know, contact sponsors and tell them like, we have this thing going on, like, you know, you want to be a part of it.
100%. And I think like you start actually, and to get back to what you said earlier about like people waiting to start, like, oh, I don't have the right camera, I don't have the right thing. And so, you know, the best way to do is just to start small. Like, unless you happen to have just like a bunch of money, like, I mean, if you have a bunch of money, it's great. You can just start a project and like pay for marketing and pay for managers and and like, that's fine, you know, but like, if you don't, the only way you're ever going to get there is just starting with what you have and slowly upgrading, right? You make a bit of videos and you make like really bad videos with your bad camera and you're bad at social media, but you make 100 videos and like, you make one painting sale, but then that helps pay for like a slightly better camera and like a light, so you can like take a better video of your next painting, and then that time you sell 2, and then that money you reinvest, and then you sell 4, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now you have like a good camera and a good studio and a good light, and like now everything's working. But you would have never got there if you didn't just start. So 100%. Like,
the really
start
thing
with
about
something.
Parallèle is like, I felt that we touch a need. Like, we definitely shaped something. There's so many people like reaching to us and telling us how amazing this project is. How wow, I'm like definitely pushing you, like do it and stuff. And I was like, wow, like à ce point.
It was surprising, really, honestly. The response was really
like, okay, guys, there's a need. Definitely there's a need. So there's something to do about it. That's it.
Yeah, it's exciting.
With all of that going on, how do you balance your time to focus on your own work as well?
Yeah,
find it challenging?
It's super challenging. I mean, I've been like working. I scheduled some time to work on painting, but like the last couple weeks has been, you know, it's like taken a hit on that. But then I also just feel like, actually that like brings me to like a broader question, but I'll get back to that. But I think that anyway, like I was saying, I'm kind of up and down with creation, and I'm kind of down for like, I'm interested in organization, and I'm interested also in the side of like working with artists and like developing other things. So I don't mind if there's like a period where I create less, because I know that then I'll just like be in hyper focus, and like after this I'm gonna like really be excited to get back full in the studio and just like create a lot and like not work on exhibitions for at least like a month or 2, you know.
It's actually something that brings me to the question that you asked me, like when you deal with like living artist, and like we became friends. So like now I'm more in analyzing the way he works. And for example, Nick, everyone is so different. Every artist is so different. Sometimes there's the one that is going to work the same tempo every day. For Nick, it's like a period. Like he's like in a cycle. He's a cycle.
It's like you have creative bursts.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a big moment of reflection, of like getting deep into what he feels, what he's living, what he's doing. And then the minute it's gonna hit the max, he's gonna go deep down and like creative. But like a trance almost, like just every day is like creating and stuff. And this is really interesting, because I remember last time you told me, I don't know what's going on, I'm not creating anymore, and I was like, no, trust the process, I can feel it's coming back. It's and like the minute after that you found your studio, like and I was like, oh wait, look at this. Manifesting.
Exactly. It's
but everyone is different.
But also, I think like there was like a question, or at least a thought that we kind of like went around, was like, does making time for marketing, social media, or doing like the business side of things kind of like take away from the kind of like pure nature of the artist, just like in his zone creating without anything? And then like, that's always a question. And even like, I guess if an artist is beginning, and you're going to say, oh, but I don't want to do social media, I just want to do art. And that's how I felt. But the reality of life is that you're not just doing art, because if you're not marketing your art, you're not selling your art. And if you're not selling your art, then you have a job. Yeah. So then you're not making art, you're working at your job.
That's why you're
And so like ultimately the way out is through putting in the work. That's why you need a what?
An agent.
Yeah, of course. But like, you know what I mean? Yeah, but you get to having an agent once you found me through social media.
By the way, everyone listening to this, like, here's
Sophie's
phone number and contact.
No, but that actually
shameless little plug here.
Exactly. No, it actually 100% proves my point though, because she found me through social media.
It's true.
So if you don't do social media, you're not like developing, and your career's not going anywhere. And I mean, so actually the way out is through the work, which is always the case.
Yeah, and there's always going to be an aspect of something that you don't like.
Yeah, of
you know, it's like when people say, it's cool you have your own business. Yeah, like it's cool 80% of the time, 20% of the time, I don't like to do my accounting. You know, I don't like to, you know, there's aspects of everything that suck. Like there's nothing that's 100% always fun.
No.
Exactly.
And, you know, if you want to be an artist that does have that freedom to create,
it's
you know, it is important to take that into your hands. If not, like, what kind of pain do you want to deal with? The pain of like learning marketing, or the pain of not having enough financial freedom to do what you want to do? You know, like
like, I mean, for me, for most artists, and of course, like we were saying, like you look at social media and you see the examples of like, oh, the people who, you know, popped off and like blew up and make a bunch of money, and all they do is travel and make art, and life's great. But the reality is like, most people, you only get if you want to have the freedom of being like an artist who has a stable income and who has like a good life, it's going to take a long time. It's probably going to take 15 years for most people. Like the reality is, between you start painting, you start posting, some people it'll happen faster. A lot of people will be 10 years or 7 years in, they start to make a bit of money. But like, I'm ultimately like, I don't care. Like, I just want like, when I'm 40, actually, okay, I'm 30, turning 34. So like in 6 more years, I would like, when I'm 40, when I'm 45, I don't want to be working a 9-to-5 job. Like I want to then finally be in my studio. Everything's going smoothly. Everything's set. And I don't mind that in the meantime, it takes like a bunch of work, and I need to like learn social media and learn how to work with the team and work with a manager. Like I don't mind that it's still growing pains and learning, because it's all fun. But also it leads to like, you need to think long term. So if you're just thinking like, right now, all I want to do is paint. Okay, so now you have the freedom to just paint and not do social media. But like over your lifetime, you'll actually have less studio time if you do that. If your goal is to maximize your creativity as an artist over a lifetime, you should like work and put in some sacrifice. And like what I'm doing now is like, I'm building an art fair and I'm painting less than I could be. But I'm also like growing all these connections that might make me someday important enough figure of the art world that I literally can stop doing everything I don't want to do and just paint. for the rest of my life till I die.
This is the goal.
It brings up a question for me that might be, I don't know, maybe controversial or loaded, but I think about this often. There's so many great artists out there that I don't know if they would have created like amazing art like they've created if they haven't gone through that pain.
Oh, I never saw a good art without a lot of pain. I never saw that. Because even when you think about it, like when you see a painting, a piece of art, a sculpture, this is actually an amazing question. When you see something that touches you, I really do think that it's a personal, I don't know if I'm right, it's a personal like way of seeing things, but I really do think that it's the pain in you that it's connected with the pain from the piece. Because it's like a feeling that is so strong. Then when you see a piece and you're like, wow, I feel connected with this, and this is definitely what I like. I really do think it's like two pain meeting each other in a way. And the struggle of like going like as an artist and not having any option to, you know, like having money, and you're like, oh my God, I need to create, and you can see he can do whatever. So like whatever he wants, something else to have money, and he's gonna just do art, even if he's struggling. You understand more like, oh, it's a need. He's an artist because it's a need for him to create. It's not even just doing this for fun or for hobby on the side. When I finished everything, I'm just gonna do that. Because for me, for example, I create as a meditation. Like I create just when I need to think and I feel like I'm struggling with all my thoughts. I'm just going to take a canvas and I'm going to paint. But I'm not an artist. It's for me, an artist is completely something else. The need that he got from inside, 4 a.m. rush and ideas in his brain, and like he don't know how to talk about it, he's going to create.
Yeah, you just consider you need to leave, like...
Yeah,
I guess what you're saying is like you need to live and breathe, but that again, that's kind of a controversial take as well, because it's like some people disagree on like what the definition of an artist is, but you're saying like you need to live and breathe it, which is like
for me, it's I'm not saying you're doing only that. You can have a job and like do art on the side, but it needs to come from it. It's a need. It's like you having this I don't know, emotion that you're like accumulating, and it needs to go somewhere. Some people write, some people sing, some people like just do something else. But like the one who's gonna create visual art, it's just like choosing a language of how you're gonna express these feelings. But it comes from, for me, again, it's like a subjective point of view. It's come from pain.
So I have a different take, but I say like I agree, and then I just like to answer your question like kind of differently for me. I disagree that like the pain, the art needs to come from the pain directly. So it's like, let's say the art that's like you're basically expressing your pain into the art. It's like if you were taking the pain and putting it on the canvas, like that does work. Like that's one thing, but I do think that like a lot of times the best artists have gone through pain, but they're not necessarily painting their pain. So for example, like
I
Van Gogh,
like Van,
right? Yeah. So like Van Gogh is a great example. It's like he wasn't necessarily painting his pain. Sometimes it was like he went through pain and that made him appreciate beauty. And what he needed in his life, because there was enough pain already, was beauty. And therefore he painted like really, really beautiful canvases. And you could still feel that there had been pain, or you could at least feel the emotional depth of it.
So at the end, it comes from pain.
Yeah, it's still.
This is what I mean. I'm not saying you create your pain. I'm saying everything that is gonna go.
Yeah, it's a catalyst for
exactly
the pain developed you into but the pain, like I agree with you. Like the pain that you've gone through. I mean, I just think in general, like people who have suffered more, they have a little bit more depth, and so. Because you have that depth and that self-reflection that comes from suffering, you do introspection, you go through these periods of doubt or pain or, suffering, like whatever. And then you come out of it being like having a deeper understanding of life, and therefore your art just tends to get, I mean, I know like my art's gotten better. My life got worse and then, got better when my art got better. But like, I think that life experience,
it's just like maybe it's not true for all artists. It's definitely not true. There's nothing as like absolutes in life.
It's all the subjective.
But yeah, exactly. But a majority of like artists that we like, whether they're singers or performers, a lot of times like their best work was early in their career when they had nothing.
That's true.
And this is for any area in life. When you're comfortable,
exactly, this is
you don't have an incentive really
true.
to go, I don't know, and paint something at like 3 a.m. anymore,
Because it's a need. In the beginning, it's a need.
It's a need. It's an outlet.
Like, exactly.
But I think some people, and I think it depends, because some people, I think, kind of to, again, bring back what Sophie was saying, like some artists really preserve that need because they're really like truly artists. So it's like, it's not just pushed by, like, of course, in the beginning, it's like you're like, you maybe have that like sense of hustle that motivates you. But then like once you've made it, and I think that kind of does kind of show in the long run who's a true artist and who's doing it for the wrong reasons, is like, once you start getting the money, are you still invested?
Yeah.
And like you see it a lot with like musicians. Like, I mean, I would say really good example of that, like in music, would be Kendrick. Like he made so much freaking money, and then he was still like, I need to perfect the art form. I need to be better. I need to push it to a next level. I need to explore new avenues. And it's like, okay, that's an artist. Like that's an artist.
Still hungry. Still hungry for
Exactly.
He's hungry for the art. He's not hungry for the money or the success, I don't think. I think he's really hungry for the art. So when you see, let's say, you see a painter, you see an artist as well, who starts to make money, and then the art starts being worse. Okay, well, he didn't care. He never cared. But, he just wanted to make money. Or he wanted the attention, or he did like it. But you know what I mean? Like you can you can kind of tell the artists that keep getting better. Because, like I just think it's something you carry into old age. You carry into sickness. And it's something that can like...
You can leave after you also.
That's true.
So you can let your mark in this art.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that, but I really don't care that much. Like, I'm like, once I die, I'm like,
Yeah, you don't care.
Yeah,
it's
like
going to stay after you.
Yeah,
anyway,
of course it will.
So even if you don't care, it's going to stay here.
No, it's pretty cool.
And that's why I love my job. That's why I love to work in a historical gallery too. At the same time as like working with Emerson, it's because like you have a proof of what it was in the past with the stories and like all the, I don't know, the society, the thing that it's like it evolved completely, and then when you study it, it's like you have an artifact of something.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I mean,
really
it's quite a paradox. Like in some way, like it's so meaningful, but in some way, like it's also like just a dust, like in the whole universe.
Of course, you're just we're all just like, it's just a little speck of dust.
A blip.
Yeah. It's a blip, but it's your blip, and it's like every little blip is interesting in its way. And I think that's what an artist does, is just kind of like say, hey, this is me. I was here. This is how I experienced it. And I wonder if other people are experiencing it similarly. Maybe I'll just like leave a trace of like, this is how I'm feeling. And does anyone else feel like, literally that's what it is. It's like, that's how I feel when I make an art show or like an art piece, like the one you came to see. It's like, this is how I feel. Does anyone else feel like that? And then when people are like, and there's people crying in the audience, I was like, oh, that feels real good. Like that feels real nice to know that like other people.
You're not the only one that's feeling this.
Yeah. And then that's so nice.
Exactly what happened in the past when like we have big movement that came from kind of like the evolution of different people. For example, abstract art. When like you had very classic, everything like that, you have abstract came and people are like really fighting against it, but at the same time he was touching a lot of people around. And then I used to say like a figurative art, when you're like landscapes, portrait, and it's about what you see, and like abstract, it's about what you feel. And then you open the door of like, okay, I can definitely talk with my art with people about just the feeling of it, and not only about like what you see. Which is really interesting. Yeah.
So touching upon what we communicate and all that was as a final question, because I want to also be wary of your time. What's coming up next with the projects? What can people expect, and like when's the next big event?
So the big event now is the art fair that's this weekend, so 11th to 13th. hopefully you'll come by too.
Yeah.
So yeah, this weekend, all weekend, that's the fair, and we have like there's almost like 20 artists showing. And it's going to be really interesting. The space looks good and the vibes are right, and I think we have like a really good crowd of artists and art enthusiasts coming. So that's the next big event, and then after that it'll be for me on to the next series. So like and like a next collection, so like new stuff and paint for a few months, and then probably September would be like my next solo show.
Amazing.
Good to know.
Well, she's gonna know. She has to know.
Again, you just put me in front of surprise. Good.
I'll tell you more than 4 weeks in advance that time.
Perfect.
I promise.
Thank you so much. And me, I'm just gonna follow everything. Yeah. So it's like I think it's also really good. The way I work through this is like really good to focus on the moment too. So for now, my head is just into the next event.
Yeah, you're all in for
always
what's right next.
Always all in, and then the minute like everything is done, I'm like, okay, I know what's next, and consciously it's like working without me thinking about it. But like I like to just enjoy every part of the process when I have an event coming, and this is just what I want to do.
Full
now.
immersion
just
into
focus
this.
Yeah. Like there's nothing after that. This is my last show forever. No, I'm joking. But like, just giving this energy of like.
It's in like 60 hours. You know that.
Oh my God, why are you doing this right now? I'm so like, I didn't sleep. I slept like at 4 a.m. yesterday already. Don't do that.
Sorry.
But that's why I'm putting like so much energy to this and this adrenaline of like this or nothing.
Yeah.
And I think this is the right way to do it.
I think you guys are gonna crush it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, wanted to say thank you for taking the time, and it's been good catching up with you, Nick and Sophie.
Thanks for having us.
Having you.
I screwed it up right at the end. Right?
Thank you so much for everything. Actually, I love the way you just like guide the whole podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.